Welcome to the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast, where we dive deep into the intersection of career, family, and finances. Learn the mindsets, tips, and strategies to help you on your personal journey to build a life of abundance and purpose for you and your family. Now here's your host, Aaron Amin. Welcome back to another episode of the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast. For today's episode, I'm going to play the third and final part of a series of interviews I did last year on the Financial F.I.R.E Fighter Show with my friend and fellow investor, Marc Oshiro. If you haven't checked out Marc's channel, he brings on some of the best and brightest real estate investors who are out there in the trenches every day. I was honored to be on the show, and I hope you enjoy it too. Let's get into it.
All right, everyone. I have a return guest to my channel. I got Aaron Amin, who goes by the hybrid real estate professional or investor or hybrid professional, right? Hybrid professional.
The Hybrid Real Estate Professional.
Professional, yes. Okay. And I want to catch up because he has a lot of stuff going on right now. So I want Aaron to fill you guys in on all this.
Sure. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
So we spoke in May, and it has been probably the busiest couple months of my life ever since then. So we found out my wife and I are expecting twins at the end of this year. And we already have a 21-month-old daughter, so we're going to have a busy household. 3 kids under the age of 3 by the end of 2023. So as a result, we made a pretty big decision. We're going to uproot and move out of our home in central Washington state here down to Houston, Texas. And my dad and a lot of other family live down there. So a few different reasons, right? One is to be closer to a larger group of family as our family is growing. And 2 is cost of living is significantly cheaper in Texas. So as a result of all this big decision, we looked across our whole real estate portfolio. We own 9 houses, 8 of which were rentals. And we wanted to see what makes sense to potentially sell. Can we hold all of them? How can we financially make this big move work? We already had a young kid. We have a pretty, unfortunately, large collection of furniture and a lot of physical items. So we had to start looking, do we sell everything and start over? Anyway, I'll skip all the nitty gritty details. And essentially what we decided was, instead of selling our primary home that I'm sitting in right now, we sold our very first ever home that we bought in Las Vegas, which used to be our primary home. We've been holding it as a rental for the last 3 years. And through a beautiful tax, I don't even want to call it a loophole because it's just a regular rule. If you lived in a house as a primary residence for 2 out of the last 5 years, you can sell that house and you can exclude all of the capital gains. So we bought our primary home in 2017. We lived there for 3 years until 2020. And we were approaching the 5-year mark. If we sold the house by September 12th of this year, we could exclude all the gains. So instead of selling our current house that I'm sitting in right now, we sold that one, but it had essentially the same effect. We were able to sell it and put quite a bit of cash in our pocket to get through the move. And so it was essentially doing a lot of thinking about how to reposition, if you will. I believe that's the formal word. Reposition our portfolio so we could afford a house in Houston. And now we were able to buy a house there that is almost twice the size of the one we're in right now for a fraction of the price. And so it's interesting. It was a very personal decision driven by completely personal factors, where we want our family to live, proximity to my parents, what kind of lifestyle we want to be able to afford for ourselves. So it was a very personal decision, but it ended up involving all this analysis of our rental portfolio. So it was complex in that sense, but it's a really interesting time you picked to call me because all of this just settled down. It started about a week after the last time I talked to you, and it's resolving. The movers literally show up this Friday.
Yeah, awesome. This is like my first time hearing all of this. So this is catching me off guard, but I have so much things running through my head that I want to ask you. But I guess the first thing I want to say congratulations, but the first thing I want to know is Would all of this be possible if you were stuck in a traditional W-2 job, or if you didn't have like extra income or rental income coming in from your portfolio to make this smooth transition?
Sure. Absolutely not. It would not be possible. I'm very lucky in that sense. By day, I work as a business manager for a management consulting firm. The company is based out of Seattle area, but there are offices in California, Texas, Illinois, Utah, and the two Dakotas, funny enough. But essentially, they allow people to move and work remotely for any state that they're licensed to do business in. So thankfully, in this case, they have an office in Dallas. And even though I'm moving to Houston, I'm able to just align myself with the Dallas office and set up on a Texas payroll, and there are no issues. So that's my job. My wife is also doing part time contract work for her old employer from way back years ago when we used to live in Vegas. And that is also 100% portable, 100% remote. And her job's even flexible. She took a lot of time off when our daughter was born. So she hasn't been working full time over the last 21 months. And to your point, the rental income that we get from the 8 rentals has definitely provided that flexibility so that we've been able to do these things without having to force her back into full time work or force me into maybe a different career path, pushing really far ahead to try and get a higher salary. We've been able to, pursue our goals that align with what we want for our lives. And yeah, the portability of the jobs is just such an amazing thing that I don't know 10 years ago if that wasn't as common as it is now. So we're very lucky.
Do you think, let's just say, like your job, your W-2 job, didn't have an office in Dallas, but because of the cost of living is so much lower, you able to 1031 your Vegas property. Do you think you still may have moved without a job lined up for you? Like you could have made that move and then took your time to find a job there?
That's a really complex question because I am the primary W 2 employee in the house and I have benefits, health benefits tied to it. And my wife's pregnant. I would say no. I would need to have a job lined up, but that's not to say I wouldn't look, right? I think we really laid all the cards out on the table. This was a really difficult decision. We have family up here as well. So there was a kind of personal, emotional reconciliation we had to do. I've lived in Washington the majority of my life. So there are a lot of reasons for staying and there are a lot of reasons for going. And the job security made it easier. I think I would have actively pursued and applied for jobs and, of course, had something lined up because we can't have a gap in insurance when my wife's pregnant. That part wasn't an option.
I love it. I think I talked about it a few times on my channel. Like me and my son's mom, we split up. She's from North Carolina. She always wanted to move back. And I'm not saying things would have worked out, but me having a pension in the fire department, like you're saying, the medical, I was always like, I can't leave. I have this pension where I got to work so many years to get my benefits and everything. But now that I look back, if I had a rental portfolio back that time or had this extra income coming in from a bit another job or business, would have made that transition a lot smoother and maybe things will be different now. But yeah, just looking back on it, I think that's why it's such an important thing to, have extra income coming in, whether it's from a rental, portfolio or a business that you start. But I'm happy for you, and I'm excited to see where this takes you. And do you think it's gonna affect your writing now, as far as your what you're doing on your what they call it? What platform is that again?
So I have a newsletter on Substack and I write on
Substack. Yeah,
Twitter. Yeah.
yeah. Do you think it's gonna slow down a little bit for you?
It's really funny you ask that because I have some pretty ambitious goals with my writing prior to the twins arriving. So the twins are due in December. Twins usually come a bit early. So the marker I'm putting on the calendar is Thanksgiving. So between now and then, I know that my schedule is going to be more open than after that. So I've come up with a couple goals. I want to create a free 7-day email course that encapsulates everything I've learned in my 6 years of doing this, how we got from 0 all the way to 8, but not just my story, really the journey and how people can apply it to themselves. And this is geared largely towards people who either haven't started yet or people that might own a primary home and want to figure out how to parlay that into a portfolio. So that's really who I'm targeting that for. And that's going to be completely free. I already have that outlined. So I really just need to dig in and write it, which will probably happen here next month once I'm on the ground in Houston. I use a lot of different scheduling apps, and I actually have a virtual assistant that helps me. So where all I have to really do is write the content and they can help me put it across all the different platforms. So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll just really focus on writing my weekly newsletter. And as long as I can produce that piece of content, it can be cut up and sliced up and distributed across Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I opened a Threads account just to try and be an early adopter. And so, yeah, I could go on a whole rabbit hole about some of the things I've learned about how to streamline that process. It's taken quite a while. I started writing on a daily basis in March of 2022. I joined a cohort program called Ship 30 for 30. It's a pretty popular one. And the whole purpose of that program is to get people started writing online. And it's very specifically online. It's social media. Their whole thing is don't start your own blog. Take advantage of the networks that are already out there. Twitter has however many 100 million users. LinkedIn, Medium is another platform they use, and then eventually starting your own newsletter. And the goal is to just build the habit of writing online every day. And the 30 for 30 is you write 30 different 250 word atomic essays in 30 days. And they teach you how to come up with ideas. They teach you how to look at your analytics. And after the first 10 days, you look at the things that we're most engaged with and you rewrite about those in different ways. And so going through that was pretty transformational. And it showed me how you don't have to sit down with a blank page every time you want to write something. You can really continue to just expand on the same ideas over and over again. So that's very long-winded answer to your question. I don't plan to slow down. If anything, I'm hoping to accomplish quite a bit on my writer's roadmap before the twins come.
Awesome. Now you've given me our next topic that we can talk about after this. And I love catching up. And like I said, this caught me all off guard. But now I'm going to end this one right here. And I hope everybody enjoyed it, seeing the benefits of having a rental portfolio or passive income coming in. So it can help you transition to whatever things happen in life. Like you said, you're having twins, or some people, even for me, like is thinking about what I'm going to do when my parents get older. How am I going to handle that situation? But we're going to end it. Hope everybody enjoys it. And we'll be right back with our next topic.